Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Peters, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Lew, thank you so much for your testimony and for appearing here today before our committee. As you know, the United States is in the process of negotiating the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a multilateral free trade agreement that now includes Japan, a country with a history of both currency manipulation and closing off their auto markets for imports. I led a letter to the administration in December of 2011 that argued that Japan should not be included in the TPP negotiations until they open up their market to United States automobiles. And I, to this day, remain very deeply concerned about the impact of Japan's inclusion in those negotiations. This hearing, of course, is focused on international finance, and so I'd like to focus on the currency manipulation issue. I know Mr. Cleaver asked you some questions about that earlier, but currency manipulation has cost millions of jobs in the United States, and many of those jobs were in my home state in Michigan. There have been various proposals ranging from my colleague, Congressman Sander Levin, to the Peterson Institutes, to the auto industry, to address currency manipulation in the TPP without tying a country's hands to its own monetary policy. Today, I have with me language from the American Automotive Policy Council that I would like to enter into the hearing record, Mr. Chairman, the unanimous.
Without objection.
And as I mentioned, this proposal would direct currency manipulation, or would target rather, direct currency manipulation without stopping necessary quantitative easing by evaluating first the protracted large-scale intervention in one direction in the exchange market, excessive and prolonged accumulation of foreign assets, and 3, prolonged current account deficits or surpluses. So my question is, just generally speaking, do you support strong and enforceable currency manipulation provisions in a free trade agreement to address trade distorting practice, generally speaking?
Congressman, I tried in my response to Congressman Clay to explain my view, and I'm happy to do it again. I believe that it is very important that we continue to insist on having market-determined exchange rates, that we do that through the proper mechanisms. We've done it, I think, quite effectively through the G20. We're doing it quite effectively in bilateral relations. I think you look at the policies country by country. We've, in our currency report, tried to analyze in some detail what we see as problematic and what we see as movement in the right direction. With regard to some countries, with Japan, we for a decade were saying Japan needed to do something to get its economy moving. That deflation in Japan was hurting the world economy, and it was hurting the U.S. economy as well. Whether or not their monetary policies are manipulation or not depends on whether or not they abide by the standard of market-determined exchange rates and domestic tools for domestic purposes. Obviously, it's a fine line. We're going to keep our eye on that line to make sure that countries don't cross it. And when they cross it, we're going to press very hard. We've done it time and again. I've met with my counterparts from Japan on many occasions. I've met with my counterparts from China on many occasions. And we have made exceedingly clear that this is a matter of necessity in order for us to have our bilateral relations continue to improve. And I think we're making a lot of progress. A trade agreement has to be built on that firm commitment for us to continue making progress on these matters.
Well, in response in the negotiations that have gone on that you talked about, I mean, the problem still is about enforcement and whether or not we have the ability to step up and enforce those kinds of actions of currency manipulation and hopefully bring it to an end. And that's why I think it's important to actually have it in the agreement, in the TPP agreement. And I just want to say that in June of this year, we had 230 House members, including 30 members who are on this committee, including myself. We sent a letter to the president calling for currency manipulation disciplines to actually be written into the TPP. And in September, we had 60 senators that sent you and Ambassador Froman a letter calling for strong and enforceable currency manipulation disciplines in the TPP. Now, to my knowledge, none of us have received even a letter in response. This is a letter from 230 House members and 60 senators Does the administration plan to send a letter and respond directly as to what will be in this TPP to us?
Well, Congressman, I realize it's different than the letter, but I've spent a fair amount of time with members of Congress on this. I spent several hours with the Ways and Means Committee on both sides discussing it. I've talked to many members about it. I look forward to remaining in close conversation.
Well, good. I appreciate that, and hopefully we can get that in the agreement. I yield back.